Welcome back to Never Did It. Never Did It, we look back at the last 100 plus years of movie history in an effort to fill in some of our own movie blind spots. This is Season 2, Animation Boogaloo, and today we're going to be looking at the animated films of the 1960s. We've got a couple of really interesting non-Disney films to talk about today, in addition to, we'll talk about what Disney was doing and what everyone else was doing as well. So we could start with, do you want to talk about Yellow Submarine first?
Sure. Do you want to tell people who we are?
Oh, did I not give our names?
No.
I'm Jake Ziegler. This is Brad Garoon with me, and we are the co-hosts of the Never Did It podcast.
So Yellow Submarine, you gave it to me, but this was after you tried to give me Thunderbirds Are Go, which is not an animated movie.
Letterboxd lied to us.
It is listed under animation, but they're just puppets. I mean, it's just people doing a marionette. Now, there is a question. I asked you, I'm like, do you want to do this? Because I think you could... probably poorly make the argument that like Team America World Police and Thunderbirds Are Go are animated films, but I don't think so. I don't think they are.
I don't think so either, and I was happy because I did want to do Yellow Submarine because I've actually never seen it, and I'm a big Beatles fan. But I looked it up and it wasn't streaming anywhere. It was just like, oh, this is going to be a pain, to find. It's going to be like a crappy version or something. So like I just looked for something that was streaming easily, and that's why I landed on Thunderbirds. It's like a space exploration story or something. And I usually like those are fun. But yeah, I'm very glad you found out that it was marionette because I would agree that that's not animated. It's not nothing. I mean, I'm not discrediting it or anything like that, but it's not animated. I don't think it fits the theme. But then when we looked back at Yellow Submarine, I noticed that it was streaming on Apple Plus or iTunes or whatever it is. So then it was, easy choice. Yeah, let's watch Yellow Submarine. Let's watch the Beatles when they were in their drug period.
Yeah, or watch not the Beatles when they were in their drug period.
Except for one little minute at the end there.
Which was so very heartwarming, that minute at the end. I'm like, oh, it seems like they still like each other, even though...
Yeah, it was like before they hated each other. Yeah.
Right, but like just barely.
Right. I mean, this came out in 68?
Yeah,
and they had definitely been through the ringer a little bit because they had recorded most of the White Album, and we've seen that they were arguing and disagreeing a lot on that album. And I still think, man, I mean, the disagreements that they had, it's like you guys should probably get over that and make the White Album a single album because there's a lot of filler on that album. That's not a popular opinion.
Okay.
I stand by it. I think the White Album is overstuffed and overloaded, and it's not one of my favorite Beatles albums.
I don't so much think about music in terms of albums anymore. So like skipping around is fine. You can make a playlist of just the jams you like.
And I do stuff like that. Like there's Bruce Springsteen once released 2 albums on the same day, and one of them is pretty good, pretty solid, and the other one is his worst album. Yeah, I mean it's definitely at the bottom. So like I've combined those 2 albums into like one album, and I have a little playlist, and I listen to that. So I love playlists. I mean, I do a lot of playlist stuff, but I still think of albums as albums because I have them in my car. Like I still have a CD player in my car, and I listen to a lot of music in my car. So
that's wild.
Yeah, I know, right? Like I still have a CD player, like a 6-disc changer in my car.
I mean, that's cool. I can't hate on that now that I'm a 4K freak. CDs are probably the best quality sound you can get, right?
I mean, I think vinyl's got better sound, but I mean, if you were like portability and things, I mean, yeah, the CD is more convenient, that's for sure.
According to AI by Google, which is frequently wrong,
yeah,
technically a CD sounds better than vinyl due to its superior dynamic range, lower noise floor, perfect playback speed, and lack of physical degradation, but many prefer the warm sound of vinyl, which can be attributed to inherent distortions and compression in the analog. Okay, I'm bored of that.
Yeah, Neil Young did a whole book about that, so I read all about that.
It's so funny because they don't look, the Beatles, John and George, don't look when they pop up in real life at the end of the movie, don't look like their cartoon counterparts because they weren't really interested in the production of this film. They changed all their facial features. And interestingly enough, there is a scene near the end of the movie where the Beatles find the real Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, and they look like the version that we see in real life afterwards. And I have to wonder, did that get animated last?
Yeah.
After they realized what was going to happen. So it's pretty funny. Yeah. So the story is what?
Well, first of all, I was getting towards the end of the movie. My daughter came out from her bedroom to ask me for something. And she took one look at it. She goes, "Is this movie on drugs?" Like, yes. Yes, it is. So you can tell that pretty much right away. It's what are they doing? They're rescuing someone from the Blue Meat. Yeah, or they're trying to save. Yeah, they're going to try to save the Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band when they've been imprisoned by the Blue Meanies because the Blue Meanies hate music and they don't want to hear it. So they have to go. It's kind of like an Alice in Wonderland almost type of thing where they're just going through these bizarre locations. The Sea of Holes, I think, is one of the coolest things in the movie. Where that's just so cool. There's all these. I don't even know how to describe it. It's
like a mosaic of holes in a void, a white void, and they have to get from there to Greenland. So they have to find the green hole, and in the void is Nowhere Man.
That's right.
Jeremy Hillary Boob, PhD. My new favorite character in an animation film is Jeremy Hillary Boob, PhD.
Yep.
That scene, I was actually wondering if that would trigger your Meniere's.
It did not, actually, but I like that you think about me that way.
Yeah, I worry about you. Yeah, so right, Pepperland is besieged by blue meanies, and they have to. And is he Sergeant Pepper, or is he just the submarine captain who goes to
I
save
think it's
them?
just the submarine captain. Yeah, Sergeant
Okay.
Pepper is like I don't think it's an actual person.
I think you're right. And the mayor gets hit with a bunch of apples because
Gets
that's
bonked.
the Beatles.
Isn't
Yeah,
it's
right,
like a
right.
bonk. Yeah.
Sorry, he doesn't get hit. He gets bonked. And so
Yeah.
he loses all the color in his body. Oh, man, the animation is so cool. Anyway, did you like it? I fucking love this movie.
Yeah, I loved it, actually. I might have underrated it at 4 stars. Like I was super into it. I mean, the dry British comedy of it is so funny, and I wish I could remember more of the lines. But the one I said it before we went on there, but the one that sticks with me the most is someone that says like, "Oh, we're going to get this submarine ship shape," and I believe it's Ringo who says, "I like its original shape, or I like its original submarine shape," or just like there's lots of little tiny lines like that. Yeah, it's just a really funny, bizarre movie that's like it's never boring. I mean, you've got Beatles songs in it. Some of them some of them were new for the movie. I mean, we all know them now, but like some of them were a couple of them were new for the movie.
I think just Bulldog was new.
I heard 4. I thought,
And Bulldog, I will say, was my least favorite song in the movie.
I like it, but it's not going to make my top 10 Beatles songs.
Not going to get on a playlist.
Like, yeah, Yellow Submarine had been on Revolver. Yep, Only a Northern Song was new. All Together Now was on the Magical Mystery Tour. Nope, remained unreleased. That was new. All Together Now.
Oh.
Hey Bulldog was new, and It's All Too Much was also new. So yeah, there were four new ones.
The All Together Now sequence was great.
Yeah, I really loved that too. It was really cool.
But my favorite was Nowhere Man, and I'll tell you why. Because this really helped me place Yellow Submarine in the context of animation history. You don't hear a lot about this movie anymore. The Beatles didn't want to be a part of it. They were signed to a 3-film deal, and they had already made Help and
Hard Day's Night.
Hard Day's Night. And Hard Day's Night was a big hit. And then Help did well financially, but the Beatles did not like making it. And they were kind of just like over it. And actually, right after this, I think that documentary Let It Be came out shortly after this. So
shortly after Yellow Submarine, yeah.
Right. So and that wasn't part of the deal. So they're like, okay, when someone came to them with the idea of what if we do an animated version, they're like, great, we don't have to be a part of that. And then they didn't do the voices. Although I will say the 4 guys who did do the voices did a good job.
Mm-hmm.
I found them convincing enough.
We were just doing a blind, or not blind, but like a blind hearing. I mean, they could pass for sure.
Yeah, the Pepsi challenge works. It's Paul Angelis was Ringo and George, John Clive was John, and Jeffrey Hughes was Paul, and then Dick Emery was Jeremy Hillary Boob, which I think is very important to say because he's amazing. Oh, and this was directed, we didn't even say, but this was directed by George Dunning. This, I think, was his only feature. I'm pretty sure this was his only feature-length film. He was an animator, but okay, I want to talk about Jeremy Hillary Boob. So he's the Nowhere Man. They go into the void. They find him. He's like a platypus man with a clown face. I think because the Beatles aren't a huge part of the movie, a lot of folks haven't seen this. And also the streaming rights are really weird.
Yeah, I mean, the only place you can rent it on iTunes, but like you can't rent it anywhere else or stream it anywhere else. It's odd.
So it's on Apple TV Plus. Yeah, you have to pay. There is a very good version of it on YouTube, but I'm not advocating for that. But yeah, it's typically hard to watch. Like my parents wouldn't be able to find it on their Roku devices.
Well, I should say though, the Beatles did like it. I understand like, yeah, they didn't want to be really involved with it, but they were happy with it and they supported it and stuff.
Right. But that doesn't matter so much for a fan 40, 50 years later who's like, oh, the Beatles aren't the voices? Like, what's even the point? But if you want to watch like dope animation while listening to Beatles music, it's a great way to spend your time. I liked it way more than I thought I would. But it does have a very important place, at least for real animation. Not real. That is a pretentious thing to say. For like hardcore animation fans, or even just like anime fans in general. Masaki Yuasa, the creator of such films as Mind Game and Night is Short, Walk On Girl, and Inuo and Ride Your Wave. I'm just going through all those movies.
Yeah, I like all those movies, I think.
Yeah, they're all great. Was very influenced by this movie, and I think particularly by the Nowhere Man segment and Jeremy Hillary Boob, PhD. If you watch his short film Happy Machine, which I always assumed was a huge influence on Adventure Time, because Happy Machine is about a little naked baby wearing a white hat riding around on a tricycle. And I'm like, oh, that's Baby Finn from Adventure Time. Apparently, it's a bit more of a parallel thinking than it is anything else. That imagery is taken right out of Yellow Submarine, and a lot of like Kick Heart, which was another early Yuasa short, imagery taken right out of Yellow Submarine. Obviously, Terry Gilliam was majorly influenced by this for Monty Python.
Yep.
And then because of that, even though he has never talked about it as an influence, I think Pendleton Ward was influenced probably by Yellow Submarine in one way or another in Adventure Time. There's just like a lot of that kind of, especially later seasons. So maybe more Adam Muto than Penn Ward. Yeah, a lot of like the modern psychedelic animation wing comes right from this. Jesse Moynihan, you know, all kinds of good stuff. I saw Animation Mixtape over the weekend, and Jesse Moynihan's short, Jesus 2, is one of the shorts on Don Hertzfeldt's Animation Mixtape, and it's so out there and weird. And I'm like, yeah, Yellow Submarine vibes in this. Yeah, and I hope I'm not being like a Boss Baby vibes type guy here, but we mentioned this in a future episode too, but the meme is a guy who's only seen Boss Baby watches his next movie and says, wow, a lot of Boss Baby vibes in this movie. I actually do think there's a lot of Yellow Submarine vibes in like most modern psychedelic animation.
Yeah, definitely. And what I really liked about the movie too is that it's not in a hurry to get anywhere. Like they're like, oh, you know, now we're going through the sea of holes, and you know, now we'll go through the sea of monsters or whatever it is, and there's they kind of amble. You know, some of it's not in a hurry. Like so many, you know, a lot of animated movies now, like everything's so fast moving, which I love. You know, love that too when it's right. But like in this case, yeah, let's just take a little trip with the Beatles. You know, like let's just chill out. Let's just mellow, man. And I kind of like that vibe.
The other cool thing in that same vein is that while this movie is on drugs, no one is taking drugs in the movie. Like you could show this to your kids and there's nothing untoward happening. The weirdest stuff is that the meanies bonk people, and you know there's a guy whose nose is a button and explosions go off, but it's no more violent than Tom and Jerry, and it's sweet, and the music is so fun. So yeah, I loved it. I gave it 4 stars, and I also think maybe I underrated it a little. For me, the fight with the blue meanies goes on a long time.
It does, yeah.
But aside from that, I was like, wow, what a blast.
That's a great word for it. It was just a blast. This is so much fun to watch. I love this even more than because like Yellow Submarine's not one of my favorite Beatles songs. In fact, if you talk about skips on a CD, I sometimes do skip Yellow Submarine because it's like right in the middle of Revolver, and I always thought it didn't quite fit in there. So maybe that's why I wasn't so keen. But like, I'm so glad I finally watched it, and I'd like to maybe get a DVD copy of it. So I know there's blood floating around out there.
Yeah, it's expensive.
Is it? Damn.
Yeah. Speaking of movies that aren't in a rush, I recommended for you A Boy Named Charlie Brown, which was the first feature-length Peanuts movie released in theaters. And wouldn't you know, it was a massive hit. It blew the doors off, and the message that it sent to the world was Disney does not have a monopoly on theatrical animation, which it had up to that point. In fact, The Jungle Book came out a year or two previous, and this outgrossed The Jungle Book in its original run. Now, The Jungle Book has since, that original 1967 Jungle Book has since gone on to make somewhere in the neighborhood of like $350 million at the box office. It's been re-released countless times, and A Boy Named Charlie Brown hasn't. But A Boy Named Charlie Brown, in its opening weeks, screened at Radio City Music Hall, and in its third week became the highest grossing film to ever grace that movie theater, like at Radio City Music Hall. It made $300,000 in a weekend.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, and in the second week, it was the #1 film in America, and it was released in December of '69. So it's a holiday movie, probably a lot of competition.
Yeah, I would think so.
And this is a contemplative movie. I mean, if you know about the Peanuts, you know that they're waxing philosophic at one another a lot. It opens with Charlie, Linus, and Lucy sitting on a grassy knoll looking at the clouds, and Linus very eloquently talking about the giants of philosophy and science that he sees in the clouds, and Charlie saying he saw a bunny and a ducky, but he doesn't want to say it. He's changed his mind. It's really good.
I love Lucy in this. When after Linus does other things, she just goes, "Okay, yeah, Charlie, what do you see?"
Yeah,
just completely dismisses him.
But then what's the crux of the movie about? Charlie sucks at baseball to the point that he ends up undressed every time he pitches a hit, and Schroeder gets mad at him because he's not getting dressed quickly enough for the game to go on.
Not that he's not pitching better, like, hey, maybe you should pitch better. It's like, no, you need to get dressed faster.
Yeah. So he sucks at baseball and
can't fly a kite.
Can't fly a kite. That's a great scene. So he goes to therapy and gets just like railed by Lucy in the therapy session, just like destroyed.
Rule.
Emotionally, yeah, she's like quite the villain. And he decides that to shove it in her face and the face of the other mean girls at school, he is going to enter the class spelling bee. And he wins.
And
Yeah.
yeah.
He wins the class spelling bee, he wins the school spelling bee, and he goes to nationals or regionals probably to do the spelling bee. And that's the main thrust of the story, although it takes like 45 minutes to get to that part of the movie.
Yeah, this movie is leisurely.
Yeah, so I saw this when I was a kid. I saw this and Snoopy Come Home, which destroyed me. I don't know if you've ever seen Snoopy Come Home.
If I have, I would have been as a kid, yeah.
The first time I ever cried watching a movie was that Snoopy runs away or gets lost. I can't remember now. But all the kids in the neighborhood, all the Peanuts gang start crying. And I remember our family room was in the basement of the house I lived in then. I remember running upstairs and bawling to my mom, "Snoopy's gone! Snoopy can't come home!" And my mom's like, what happened?
Aw, poor Brad.
But first we had this, and I there were parts of this that I remembered pretty vividly, and parts I didn't. Like the spelling bee, I remembered very vividly. But I loved it. I liked it way more this time. In fact, I'm a full star higher than you on this.
Oh, are you? Yeah, I wrestled with it. I was almost at 4.
Yeah, I went 4.5, and it's in my top 4 on Letterboxd right now. I just thought the way that it's gentle and soft and slow, but not boring, and the way that it moves, like it stays with Charlie Brown, for most of the movie, but we have moments with Linus and Snoopy. We have a great bit with Schroeder. They stick in some of the fun Sally and Linus, "Will you take me to the movies?" stuff.
Yeah, how did I underrate this movie? I definitely underrated this movie.
Yeah, it's just so sweet, and it knows just when to bring in someone new. It is a little mean, right? Like when Charlie, you texted me and said, "Wow, the girls at Charlie's school are crazy."
They were so cruel to him, like, fail your face. And, I mean, it was like almost like over the top cruelty.
It was. And I thought the same thing as I was watching it. But I said this to Annie because when Charlie Brown wins the class spelling bee, I'm like, oh, it's so much more cathartic because they were so mean to him.
Yeah.
And now they have to like eat crow. Yeah, I loved it. This movie is very well regarded, and made a lot of money when it came out. But now also like doesn't stream so much. I watched it on Hoopla.
I had to pay to rent it because I used up my monthly rentals from Hoopla.
Right, and I wanted to record this on August 31st. If we had waited one more day, you could have watched it on Hoopla.
Yep. You owe me $5.
Okay. I think it's well worth the rental. I'm happy to have paid the $5 for you to watch this amazing movie.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, you've been more than generous with me with Voodoo. I'll give you $5. But now, spoiler alert for later. It's my number 1 movie of the 1960s animated.
Oh, wow.
No, sorry. I actually don't know. I haven't looked at my list yet, but it is my number 1 movie of 1969 flat out.
That's awesome.
Just beating Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
Which is also awesome.
Yeah, and Hello Dolly, which I love.
Adore. Yeah, and Cactus Flower.
Is that 1969?
I just looked at your list, yeah.
Cactus Flower, which I love. Yeah.
Mm.
So amending my 1969 list to include this. So yeah, tell me about your experience with it.
I loved it. Well, like I've said it in my Letterboxd review, but it broke me a little bit because everything I see about it is the release date 1969. I'm like, all right, well that's when it came out, but it didn't get nominated for an Academy Award until the 1970 year, so it didn't get nominated for the Academy Award until 1971. And I should say the award it was nominated for was Best Music Original Song Score, because there are a number of original songs in the movie, which, by the way, is still an active category at the Academy Awards. They just don't feel like they ever have enough movies to trigger the category, existing in a year. But
if the whole what is it? The soundtrack has to all be original?
Yeah, like it has to have like a song score that's original, like a bunch of original songs. I can't remember the percentages of it, but it has to be like, so much of it has to be like original songs. And I can see why they don't activate that because most of the musicals we see now are like adaptations of stage plays or whatever. Yeah. So it's like there's not a lot of like, usually you can point to like 2 or 3 movies maybe in a year. Right now you've got K-pop Demon Hunters, which would be an obvious choice for that, but then like what else have we seen this year that is like primarily new music and a soundtrack?
Right. And last year would have been Amelia Perez probably.
Yeah.
Or no, but that movie's an adaptation, but I don't think those songs are adaptations of the opera. I don't know.
I don't know either, yeah, but it would have to be something, or like La La Land probably would have, could have qualified for that. And interestingly enough, it lost to a movie we just talked about. The Beatles' Let It Be was actually the winner that year in that category.
The only reason I knew that the Beatles' Let It Be came out around that time is because I knew that fact.
Yeah. I liked the movie a lot, and my wife was watching with me. She was kind of diddling on her computer playing The Sims or whatever, but she was kind of watching with me. But every once in a while, too, she would just start bust out laughing, like, because she'd hear something that was funny, and then I think she said it first thing this morning. She was like, I really kind of enjoyed that movie last night for as much as she was watching it. But yeah, I mean, there's all these cute little bits in it, and what I love about this movie too is that so many of the animated movies that we have now now and a lot of the popular ones, which again, no disparaging because I like a lot of these movies, but like take something like Elio, there's no reality like in Elio. I mean, that's just like this fantastical tale, whereas like the kids in Charlie Brown, they're just doing kid stuff. Like they're playing baseball and they're worried about spelling bees and, Linus needs his blanket. It's kid stuff and it's cute and it's endearing. And it's just it's a really nice, like there's a warmth in the movie that just kind of, comes out at you while you're watching it. And I smiled through almost the whole thing, even if they're not making jokes. I mean, the only times I didn't smile is when Charlie was really getting dogged on, like especially by Lucy. But I don't know. I also find it interesting that all the kids, everyone pretty much calls him Charlie Brown. No one ever just says Charlie. It's like always Charlie Brown.
But his sister is just Sally.
Yes, of course. Yep.
So I had to look it up. I'm like, is his first name Charlie Brown? But no, her name is Sally Brown. So that's part of the endearing like quirks of these people. Like Schroeder is a musical genius on a toy piano playing like Beethoven and Bach. And Linus is a basket case and has a full mental breakdown when he gives away his blanket, which is so crazy. But to the point that when they're in the hotel room and I saw the blanket under the bed, I'm like, there it is! It's right there!
Like I popped like to myself, yeah.
That part I remembered really well too was the Linus freaking out at Charlie Brown. And like the whole bit of Snoopy sleeping on top of his doghouse and just sort of like slipping the kite into his hand. That's such a sweet scene, like such a beautiful shot of it panning out and him very easily in his sleep flying the kite. And then Snoopy, when Charlie Brown's in the regional spelling bee and his word is beagle, and Snoopy jumps up and down and he's like, it's me, it's me, it's me. There's so many sweet things there.
Well, he helps him by playing his little jaw harp too. Like he helps him remember the patterns.
It's very nice that you called it a jaw harp. It's called a Jew harp.
It is?
Yes, it is disparagingly and has always been called a Jew harp. And I looked it up and I'm like, why is it called that? Has nothing to do with the Jewish people. In, I think, Italian and Spanish, the word for that instrument is like a derogatory term for Jewish people.
Is it really?
But it was only ever marketed as a Jew harp in America or in English-speaking countries and maybe in the Netherlands. But just like what a bizarre thing. It's a Chinese instrument.
Yeah. I've always heard it called a jaw harp. Like I've never heard... This is news to me.
Can I tell you, I'm very relieved to hear that because you're from a rural area. I'm glad that people just called it a jaw harp.
I mean, I've heard other things, but I've never heard that one. Yeah.
One of the etymology theories of the word is that it was jaw mispronounced. But yeah, that part was great. That Snoopy helps him win the classroom spelling bee with the fire alarm. And that whole bit, the I before E except after C, and all like listing off all of the exceptions, that reminded me of the Phantom Toll Booth. And that'll make me happy no matter what. So yeah, I just think this is wonderful, and I totally agree with you. Modern animated movies and even animated movies from back in the day are so like ba-boom, 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 ba-boom. And even movies like Seeing Red, which are concerned with the real concerns of young people.
Turning Red.
What did I say? Being Red?
Seeing Red.
Yeah, Turning Red, which...
Turning Red, okay.
Even the name itself is about the concern.
Yeah.
That ends with a kaiju red panda, right? There's nothing like that in Charlie Brown. My favorite example of that being when they're playing baseball and Schroeder and Charlie start arguing, and then all the other kids start arguing their own little pet peeves. And I think it's Pigpen comes in and is like, and what about this conservation issue?
They're talking about some like really serious stuff out there, and that just reminded me of the scene in Bull Durham where they all come out, where they're all talking on the mound. They end up talking about like wedding gifts that they're going to get. The one goes, "Oh, candlesticks are always nice,"
I wonder if that was influenced by this.
Yeah, could have been.
Maybe it is baseball, and it did come out 20 years later.
Yep.
Oh, and then the funny line after that I'll always assume is like, we may not win any games, but we have some interesting conversations. That is such a great encapsulation of what makes the Peanuts shorts and films so good. Like I was watching earlier this year, with every holiday, I go watch one of the Peanuts specials that I haven't seen before. So like when Valentine's Day rolls around, I watch, like You're in Love, Charlie Brown, or The Great Pumpkin, or It's Christmas, all that. And it's all these kids having these very like, the population of the earth has doubled in the last X amount of years. Yeah. It's like, oh my God, are you guys okay?
Yeah, right. It's simultaneously like a product of its time. Like you can kind of see it, but it all works today too. Like one of the reasons I was glad that you suggested this movie, and we'll talk about this on a future podcast too, because I know we talked about it with Mike Tanzillo because he worked on the Peanuts movie. But the Peanuts movie from 2015 will always hold a special place in my heart because that was the first movie I took my daughter to that she sat all the way through. And I should say there was only one other time I had tried before that. It didn't work, and there were other circumstances at play there. But like she was three and a half when that movie came out, sat all the way through at the movie theater, and it was great. And so I'll always love that movie.
Yeah, it definitely works. And thank you for plugging that future episode. And so, of course, we have to give a shout out to Michael Tanzillo, our great friend and lighting designer on the Peanuts movie. I should mention, we didn't mention this in his episode because he's more concerned with what he's doing now, and that's good.
Yeah.
But Mike quite literally wrote the book about lighting in 3D animation. I'm not saying that he and Jasmine Katakatarn, his colleague, another great person, wrote a book, a definitive book about animation lighting. You can buy that. Really proud of him, and he does great work. We should mention too. This was directed by Bill Melendez, who directed a lot of Peanut stuff. He did Charlie Brown Christmas, It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown Thanksgiving. He also directed after this Snoopy Come Home, and he directed what I thought was a Rankin and Bass movie, Frosty Returns, because it's a sequel to a Rankin and Bass movie. So yeah, Bill Melendez doing the good work. These are great. I mean, I think a lot of people sort of at this point, Peanuts isn't like what you think of when you think about animated film because it came from a comic book, because Snoopy is like so iconic as a merchandise item.
And Woodstock too, who wasn't even in this movie.
Woodstock, I don't know if he was around yet, but these are great movies in animation history and they deserve a little more love.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm really glad you picked this one because I think it was important to talk about the Charlie Brown animated, shorts
Universe.
And films and everything. Yeah. I think he's definitely, he's got his place.
Okay. Just quick note from the future. We are going to, before we get to our features, do our top. I have 10, Jake has 5 animated short films of the decade. My number 10 is Ernest Pintov's The Critic, which is Mel Brooks pretending to be an old critic criticizing like abstract shapes on a screen. It's very funny. My number 9 is It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, which was directed by Bill Melendez, who directed so many of the Charlie Brown shorts. My number 8 is Charlie Brown Christmas. My number 7 is The Substitute by Dujan Vukotic. This must have won the Oscar in 1961 or 1962. My number 6 is The Hole. I talked about John Hughley last week. He's back with The Hole. This one I think is much better than Moonbird.
I like that. Yeah, I like that one.
My number 5 is Charlie Brown All-Stars, my favorite Charlie Brown special of the decade. It's about baseball. So if you don't have that on your list, it means you probably haven't seen it in a while. My number 4 is The Little Mermaid by Ivan Akinchuk. This is a Soviet version of The Little Mermaid with an ending that is closer to the real original ending of the Hans Christian Andersen story. My number 3 is The Dot and the Line by Chuck Jones, which I actually have some issues with, but so iconic. In animation.
Yeah, we talked about it recently too. It came up.
We've talked about it a bunch. My number 2 by Gene Deitch is Monroe, story about a 4-year-old who gets drafted into the military. It's wonderful. Also an Oscar winner. And my number 1 is Wolfgang Reitherman and Walt Disney's Winnie the Pooh and the Blustery Day.
I, like I said, only have a top 5 from this decade, but it sounds like there's a bunch of stuff I should probably watch based on your list, because 2 of mine actually come from an anthology, the Winnie the Pooh anthology film. So I'm a little bit underseen on this decade, but my number 5, I have the Rankin and Bass Frosty the Snowman, which of course everybody likes.
I've never seen it.
Oh, you haven't seen that one?
Nope.
I just assumed you'd seen all the Rankin and Bass stuff.
I have them all on Blu-ray. I've never seen it.
Well, I mean, the season's coming up shortly, so.
Oh, don't say that.
Yeah, I know. I don't like it either. So my number 4 then is Winnie the Pooh and the Blustery Day, which, is just a delight. Number 3 is The Hole, which I like a lot more than Moonbird, the one you mentioned. My number 2 is Winnie the Pooh and the Honey Tree, which I like just a little bit more than A Blustery Day, but they're both wonderful. And then my number 1 is The Dot and the Line, a romance in lower mathematics.
Great. And now to our features. All right. Do we want to do our top lists of the 1960s in animation?
I have 4.
Okay, I think I'm also pretty low.
I haven't actually even seen The Sword in the Stone. I don't have that marked on Letterboxd at all. And Disney only did 2 other movies. They only did 3 movies that decade.
Yeah, they were having a rough time after Charlie Brown ate their lunch.
That's right.
I have 6 movies. Okay, so I'll go first then, because I did see Sword in the Stone, and it's my number 6 of 6. I loved this movie to death when I was a kid, and I rewatched it when I did my Disney animation rewatch a couple years ago, and it really doesn't hold up. There's just not that much going on in it. There's a cool, I talked about this in our Disney episode, but there's a cool sequence where Merlin and Madame Mim are like transforming into animals to fight each other. Aside from that, it's like pretty dull. It did teach me what Bermuda was. I didn't know before that. My number 5 is The Jungle Book, which is good, not great, although Bagheera will always remind me of my cat, which I love. My number 4 is The Fabulous Baron Munchausen, which is a movie that looks quite a bit like Yellow Submarine, but has some like a little bit of live action in it, a decent amount of rotoscoping, and it was directed by Karel Zeman. It's a Czech movie, Czechoslovakian of the time. Interesting, and was remade by Terry Gilliam. My number 3 is 101 Dalmatians, which is an incredible movie. It was, I think it's to date the only Disney animated movie that was made using the particular process that they made to make it, which is why it looks like it does. And it does look singular in the Disney animation canon. And it's a really fun movie. There's a reason they remade a bunch of these.
It's my dad's favorite.
I know that about your dad.
Yeah, I like to tell that.
My number 2 is Yellow Submarine, and my number 1 is A Boy Named Charlie Brown.
Interesting. Well, I have all those same movies, but I have them in a different order for my top 4. And this is a tough one for me to put together because these 4 movies, I really like all of them a lot. So it's a little higgledy-piggledy whether, like these rankings particularly matter because I really like all of these. But if I had to go, I would probably do 101 Dalmatians at number 4 of those. Boy Named Charlie Brown at number 3. I would have Yellow Submarine as number 2. And I have Jungle Book as number 1. I really like that movie. But I'm going through a Disney rewatch myself also, so some of these rankings may change as I go through them. But right now, it's my number 1.
There's really only a couple of movies that I would say we are ignoring and should have seen but haven't seen. One is Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. That's basically a feature-length. It's a Larry Romer movie. I always think of it as Rankin and Bass.
Me too. I'm pretty sure I've seen that. Yeah.
It must have something to do with Rankin and Bass. Oh, they produced it. The other really popular movies, really popular. That's feature-length animation was not really popular in the 60s, but the other relative to the rest of animation popular movies from the 60s are Asterisk and Cleopatra, Asterisk and the Gaul. I've never seen an Asterisk and Obelix movie, so I couldn't say. There's a movie called Mad Monster Party, which was directed by Jules Bass and is really obscure and pretty hard to find. There's a Monkey King movie because, of course, the Chinese made a Monkey King movie, but this one I actually have heard of, directed by Wan Lai-ming. 1001 Nights. It's an Aladdin movie, but from Japan. The Incredible Mr. Limpet is not an animated movie, but it has a lot of animation in it. And then Mr. Magoo's Christmas Carol. Here's one that I'm actually quite curious about. It's pretty obscure, but it's called Weston Soda by Bruno Bozzetto. I've always been curious about it. It's an Italian movie, and it got a bit of a revival a couple of years ago. I'm going to try to find that if I can. And then Thunderbirds Are Go, which is not animated. Oh, and the Super Yips. I've heard of that too. That's another Bruno Bozzetto movie. That's why. Then there's Hey There, It's Yogi Bear and, other Hanna-Barbera stuff. All right. Well, that'll do it for the 1960s. We'll be back next week with special guest Kevin Ford and a look at the animated films of the 1970s.